Welcome to part 19 of our series on building a Zelda-like game in Phaser 3. In this video, we'll implement the mechanics for opening chests. We'll add animations, trigger item rewards, and ensure the chest remains open after interaction. If you're new here, this is part of a full series where we create a Zelda-inspired game from scratch. Check out the playlist link in the description to start from the beginning. Alright, let's jump in and start opening some treasure chests. Now that we have our new states in place, we're going to work on adding in the logic to allow our player to open up our chess game objects. To make this change, we need to go into our move state, and in our check if object was interacted with method, we need to make the call to our interactive object component to see if we can actually interact with our object. So when our player interacts with our big chest, we need to make sure we actually have our boss key before we can open it up. After we do that check, then we need to call our interact method, so then that way we can call our open method on our chest class. To make these changes, we'll do if, we'll do not, our interactive object component can't interact with, and so if we can't interact with that object, we're going to return false. If we can interact with it, now we want to call our interact method. And now back in our chest class, we need to pass in these callbacks to our method here. So for our first argument, this is where we're going to do our check to make sure we have our boss key if this is a big chest. So we're going to do if not, this is a boss key chest. So if this is a small chest, then we can open it up. If it's not, then we'll add a to-do to make sure we have our boss key, and we'll return false. For our second argument, this is where we're going to call our open chest method. So we'll call this.open, and now down in our open method, we'll want to remove our interactive object component from our game object so we can stop interacting with it. So we're going to refer to our interactive object component, we'll call remove component, and we'll pass in this for our game object. So one last change we'll want to make if we want to test our changes is currently in our open method, we require our chest to be in the revealed state. By default, we're going into the hidden state, and so let's update this to be revealed. Now if we come over to our browser, when we have our player come to our small chest and we try to open it, we'll see our console log messages logged, and our texture for our chest is open, and we can no longer interact with our game object. Now if we go to our big chest and we try to open it, we're not actually able to. And so just so we can open up our big chest, we're going to come down to here to our to-do. Let's update this to be true again. And if we remove our interactive object component line here, what this will end up doing is now we can interact with our chest multiple times, and we'll see our log message being logged more than once. Now if we come into our big chest, if we try to open it up, we'll see our logic works because we have our boss key and our texture is updated. So let's come back to our code. Let's undo our change. And let's also revert our change to our state. Next for our chest game object, we're going to work on adding in the ability to notify the rest of our game components when our player opens up a chest. So when a player opens up our chest, there's going to be a variety of things we might want to do in our game. We might want to play a sound effect when the player collects an item. We might want to play a different sound effect if they collect money. Once we add in our UI components, we might want to update our UI to show that they now have more of a certain item. We'll want to update our player's inventory to keep track of this data. And when we're in a dungeon, when we collect things like the map, we'd want to unlock our map feature and show it to our player when our game starts. And so there's a variety of different things we'll want to do, and an easy way to implement this is we can emit out an event once our player opens up a chest and provide our chest contents, and then that way the various components can react and do the updates they need to do. To add in support for this, let's go into our code. Under our source folder, under our common folder, let's make a new file. We're going to call this event bus. As now for our event bus, we're just going to rely on Phaser's built-in event system to send out our events. For this, we'll create our own custom event emitter that we'll share across our game. And to do this, let's go into our chest class. I'm going to copy our import for Phaser. And now in our file, we'll just do export const, and we'll do event bus is equal to a new Phaser events event emitter. And now we're going to provide an object of our various events that we'll support. So we'll do export const. We'll do custom events, so that equal to our object, and we'll do as const. And right now, the only event we'll add is we'll do opened chest. So now that we have our new event emitter, we can now import our event bus into our components where we need to emit these events. For emitting our event, let's go into our open chest state, and after we open up our chest, this is where we'll trigger our event that we're emitting. So before we transition back to our idle state, this is where we'll emit our event. And so we'll do our event bus, we'll do emit, and now we want to do our custom events, and let's do open chest. And now we want to pass in our chest game object that we provided to our arguments here. So one change we need to make is we need to come back to our move state, and when we transition to our state, we'll need to pass in our chest. And so now we want to pass in our collision object. So now if we come over to our scene, if we try open up our chest, we should now see our console log line is now updated to have our chest game object. So now what we can do is in our game scene, now we can listen for this event and we can have our game do different logic. So let's open up our game scene. And so first, let's add a new method for registering our event listeners. And so we'll do register custom events. For this method, we don't need any arguments and we won't return anything. And so now we'll do our event bus, we'll do on, we'll do our custom events and open chest. And so now when this callback is invoked, now we want to call the new method and we'll do handle open chest. We'll pass in this for our context. And now because we're listening for custom events, we'll want to make sure we shut these down when our scene is shut down. And so we're going to do this events to reference our event emitter on our scene. We'll do once, and on our phaser, our scenes, we'll do our events, and now we'll do shutdown. Inside this callback, this is where we'll turn this off. And so if we copy this and we provide our same arguments, and let's do off, that will now turn off our event listener once our scene is shut down. So now we just need to add in our new method. So we'll add in our private method. So when this method's called, we're just going to receive our chest game object. And so we'll have our chest. We won't have this method return anything. And we'll just do console.log and we'll say chest opened. And then we're just going to add in a to-do. And let's save. And then finally, now we just need to call our new method. So if we come up to our create method, after we do register colliders, let's do this. We'll do register custom events. We'll save. Now in our game scene, if we come over to our chest, let's try opening up our small chest. We'll see now we have our two log lines. We have our chest game object, and we'll see chest is open after we're done with our animation. Nice. So now that we have our new log line in our game scene, let's come over to our open chest state, and let's remove our log line from our onEnter method here. That's it for this part of the series. If you found this helpful, be sure to hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you're following along, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. If you have any questions or want to share your progress, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Alright, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.